morning and welcome to Unsportsmanlike Conduct with the Football Guru 365. The first subject we have for today is the scandal at Ohio State with Urban Meyer and Zach Smith and all those involved with that. First of all, let's talk about what exactly we do know. Zach Smith, longtime assistant coach under Urban Meyer. He most recently was the wide receiver coach at Ohio State and previously was a position coach for Urban Meyer at University of Florida when Urban Meyer was there. Back when Urban Meyer was at Florida, Zach Smith came home about 2 a.m. and brought Urban Meyer's secretary to their house, to him and his wife's house. Zach Smith told his wife, Courtney Smith, that this secretary was going to stay the night. Courtney Smith was like, heck no, I'm taking her home. Courtney Smith ended up taking her home. When she got home, a fight ensued, which Zach Smith left marks on Courtney Smith. Courtney Smith was going to press charges. A few different confidants to Urban Meyer came to Florida, had a meeting with Courtney Smith at a Panera Bread company, and convinced her not to press charges against Zach Smith. Fast forward, that was in 2009. Fast forward to just a couple weeks ago, Urban Meyer was at the Pac-10, the Big Ten Media Days, and he was asked what he knew about the Zach Smith situation. He said, I don't know anything about it. I don't know why anybody would make this stuff up. Then, a week later, after Brett McMurphy put out a report stating exactly what happened, Urban Meyer released an 8-paragraph letter saying, I lied. I knew about it, blah, 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 blah. That right there, covering up domestic violence, I don't care at what level, covering it up has no place in sports. Employing somebody that is an abuser, that person has no place in sports. If you're going to abuse people, if you're going to do the wrong thing, don't be involved with sports. Get out. If you oversee someone that has charges against them, fire them. Get them out of there. They don't deserve to be in that position of power. Now there's an investigation going on because Urban Meyer lied about what he knew about the situation with Zach Smith and Courtney Smith. What's crazier is Urban Meyer also said he went up the lines of communication that he was supposed to go, and those above him knew about it, and he did what he was required to do. I disagree. He didn't do anything what he was supposed to do. What he was supposed to do is when he found out about what was going on, he should have fired Zach Smith in 2015 when that occurred. Not wait 3 years later once it gets reported. That was Urban Meyer's mistake. Covering it up, lying about it, and then writing an 8-paragraph paper stating, I lied, and that's why I should stay the head coach of Ohio State football. How do we know what within that 8 paragraphs is true? He's already lied to us. He's already lied to the media. Why would we now believe this 8-paragraph paper that says, here's the truth? Anytime you have to say, here's the truth, or honestly, you're probably lying. Because why would you need to do that? Why would you say, well, honestly, this is the truth? Well, that makes me not believe you because now you're saying honestly, like you were lying. Everything else before was a lie. Now this isn't. So I think Urban Meyer's throwing out a bunch of crock. If he is telling the truth, and he did take it up the proper channels, then you have even a bigger issue, actually. Because the next person up the chain of command would be athletic director Gene Smith. If Gene Smith knew about this and let it go on, Ohio State football even has a bigger issue. And that is everybody in the program has to go. Because now you have an entire cover-up by the entire athletic department, not just the football program. What's even more ironic is if Gene Smith knew about it, Urban Meyer knew about it, and Ohio State is investigating itself. They have people within the athletic department doing an investigation on themselves. There are 6 people on this board, but 3 of which are from the university, selected by the president of Ohio State. But still, you don't think Gene Smith had any input on who should be on this board? You don't think that he did? Because they put together the board before Urban Meyer came out and said that he lied. They'd already started an investigation. So this whole thing at Ohio State, I think, it's sad. I feel bad for the victims. In this case, Zach Smith's children, Courtney Smith. But at the end of the day, Urban Meyer should be gone. If Gene Smith knew about it, he should be gone. And it's not going to ruin Ohio State football. They'll go out and get a different coach and be fine. Look what happened when Jim Tressel did a cover-up and he came back or he got fired and they go get Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer gets fired, they probably go get Bob Stoops. Ohio State football is still going to be Ohio State football. It's not going to hurt their program. It just depends, is Urban Meyer going to be there or not? If he remains there, it's because all that matters at Ohio State is winning football games. That's my opinion on that. And lastly, the 100 fans or a couple hundred fans that showed up in a rally to support Urban Meyer, shame on you. Shame on you for supporting someone who supported domestic violence. This is about people. This is about real life. This isn't about football. This isn't about football games. This is about people's lives. This is about injuries. This is about abuse. And to support someone who has supported these kinds of actions is just unacceptable. So shame on you if you showed up to support Urban Meyer. That's my thoughts on that. All right, now moving on to something a little bit more happy and exciting. We're pretty darn close to the start of the football season. Everybody's getting ramped up. And so we're going to take a look at different Power 5 conferences and the divisions and how I think they're going to finish up in the 2018 season. We're going to take a look first at the SEC West. That's where a perennial playoff team resides. And so to start, we've got Alabama. Alabama only has 3 starters back on defense. So your first thought is, if a team has only 3 starters back on defense, okay, maybe not going to be that great. But it's Alabama. It's Nick Saban. It's the football mecca of college football. The best of the best go there. They always have the best recruiting classes. They work their kids harder than almost any other program. That's why they don't succeed in the NFL as often as others, because they already hit their peak when they're at Bama, because that's how good of a coach Nick Saban is, in my opinion. He gets the most out of his players, more than any other program, and that's why they don't translate to the NFL as well, because he's already got them playing as good as they can play. Anyway, so they only have 3 starters back on defense. Sure, they've got lots of depth, and they'll be fine there. On the offensive side of the ball, the interesting thing to me is you've got the quarterback situation with Tua and Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts was the starter for the past 2 seasons. Last season, 17 touchdowns to 1 interception. And his career as a starter, he's 27-1. Tua came in, played the second half of the national championship game, brought Alabama back, and Alabama won the national championship. So, what do you do if you're Nick Saban? Do you bring on Tua, who played hands and fists better than Jalen Hurts in that one game, in that one half? Or do you stick with the guy who threw 17 touchdowns to 1 interception and is 27-1 in his career with your school? My money's on Tua being the starter, but I think Jalen Hurts still deserves the opportunity to be the starter until he proves he doesn't. That's my thoughts on that, but I don't think that's how it's actually going to go. So it will be Tua as the starter. and Alabama is going to have another great year, and they're probably going to be in the football playoff. Let's look at their schedule. They have the number 48 strength of schedule in college football, so they don't have a super difficult schedule. It's not going to be incredibly difficult, especially for a team like Alabama to get through. Week 1, they have Louisville at home. Louisville loses Lamar Jackson. They've got other pieces. Bobby Petrino, he's a solid offensive coach, but I just don't think they have enough to beat Alabama, especially in Alabama. They couldn't win a lot last year with Lamar Jackson. I don't think you lose Lamar Jackson and you get better. So tab that as a win for Bama. Next, you've got Arkansas State at Bama. Another win. Arkansas State is a good program. They're up and coming. They've played some tough, some really good teams, pretty tough. But I still think this is a easy win for Bama. Next, Bama goes down to Mississippi. Mississippi has their whole scandal of player benefits, improper benefits, and they've lost quite a bit of players. They lost Shea Patterson to Michigan quarterback. So Ole Miss, although they do have some good athletes, they're not nearly deep enough to compete with Alabama. So that's another one for Bama. So they start 3-0. Next, you have one of the most interesting games of the year, in my opinion. You have Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher, at Alabama. Bama wins. Fisher's a good coach. He's getting good recruits. They're just not there yet. Kevin Sumlin, he had some good pieces, couldn't manage to win more than 7-8 games every year, and that's why he got fired. So Jimbo, good coach. It's going to take a little bit of time to get A&M on the same trajectory as Bama. So another one for Bama. Then week 5, you've got Louisiana, which cupcake, another victory. Then Bama goes down to Arkansas. This is going to be a tough game for Bama, I think. Arkansas is not an easy school to play at. It's just not easy. I think Bama goes down there, beats Arkansas, no problem, takes out the victory. Then week 7, you got Missouri. That's another win. Week 8, at Tennessee, another program that's going through transition, new coach, new AD. How many coaches? They interviewed many coaches. Nobody wanted the job. Tennessee. It's a program that will get better, but right now they're starting on the bottom, and I think this is a win for Bama. Then, this is the biggest game on their schedule, I think. November 3rd, Bama goes to LSU. Death Valley, I think they lose. I think LSU musters up a victory. They're a tough team. They win at home. They win at Death Valley. This is Alabama's loss, and I think it's their only one. Then you've got a home game against Mississippi State, much better. You got Nick Fitzgerald at quarterback. New coach at Mississippi State, Joe Moorhead, but I still don't think it's enough to beat Bama. Then you have week 12, the Citadel. That's a win for Bama, and then a home game against Auburn. If this was at Auburn, much more difficult game for Bama, but I think because it is a home game, I think Bama wins, and that's enough to give Bama the conference championship, as well as most likely a berth into the college football playoff. So Alabama is the best in class of the SEC West, one of the toughest conferences, one of the toughest divisions in all of college football, and there's no denying that Bama's going to win it, and they're going to walk through this season and end up in the college football playoff. So that takes care of Bama. Next, I think in the SEC West, Auburn will finish second. They beat both Georgia and Bama last year. They have a really solid football team. Jarrett Stidham, he's a phenomenal quarterback, probably the best quarterback in the SEC. And so I think that gives Auburn a really, really good shot to have a really good season, but they're not going to go undefeated. They open their season with Washington. That's going to be a great game. Neutral field. I don't know who wins. I have Washington with the W on that, but it's a toss-up. Auburn could easily win that one and start undefeated, or start with a 1-0 record, and that'd be huge. They do also play LSU. That's at home. That's a huge game that they get. And they've got a pretty favorable schedule. They have A&M at home. They do have to go to Georgia, and they have to go to Bama the last 3 weeks of the season. They get Liberty in between there, but at Georgia, at Bama, that's where it's going to break them down. They lose both of those, and that loss to Washington. Auburn finishes 9-3, good enough for second in the SEC West. Mississippi State then I think finishes third. They have new coach Joe Moorhead, which I spoke to. He's the ex-offensive coordinator at Penn State, helped revitalize that program and helped Chase McSorley at quarterback. I think Moorhead's going to do a great job with Nick Fitzgerald, one of the best returning quarterbacks in the SEC. He should be drafted next year. Solid player. I think Joe Moorhead can do a lot with him. They have the number 32 ranked strength of schedule in college football. A game on the road at LSU in Week 8. That's going to be tough. Game on the road at Bama, Week 11. That's going to be tough. Those are two of their losses, and they still play Auburn. They've got a game against A&M, so it's going to be hard to go winless for Mississippi State. I don't think anybody expects them to go winless, but in Joe Moorhead's first year, they go in a very acceptable 6-2 in conference with losses to LSU and Bama, and an overall record of 9-3, good enough for third in the SEC West. Now you've got Texas A&M, new coach Jimbo Fisher, one of the best out there as far as records go and what he's been able to do on the field as a coach. But they have the 15th ranked strength of schedule. They play a home game versus Clemson in Week 2, September 8th. That's going to be a tough one to win, even at Kyle Field. I know Kyle Field's going to be rocking. The 12th man's going to show up, but Clemson is dominant, and I just don't know if A&M has the pieces in place to beat a team like Clemson. 2 weeks later, they go to Alabama, and then 3 weeks later, they go to South Carolina. South Carolina, you'll find out, is one of my favorites this year. They're very underrated, and I think they will have a phenomenal season. And then they still have games at Mississippi State and at Auburn. They get LSU at home for their last game of the year. I think they win that, but still, it's a tough schedule. I have them going 4-4 in the conference, 7-5 overall. Good enough for a bowl game, but it's going to take a year or two before Jimbo gets them winning 10 games a year. So I do expect him to make Texas A&M a competitor for the college football playoff in years to come, but not quite yet this year. Next in the SEC West, we've got LSU. Ed Orgeron, just so you know, you're on the hot seat. He seems like a phenomenal guy. I don't know him personally, but from what I've heard, he's a good guy, real down to earth. But I don't know if he's a football coach. I just don't know if he's got that it factor as a football coach, especially in the SEC. That's yet to be seen. They haven't done great. He's done well enough to stay, but if they don't do something impressive this year, I think he's gone. And to make things worse, Game 1, Week 1, September 1st, they host Miami, University of Miami, Florida. Mark Richt has Miami playing very well. The players there have a sense of confidence that it's just exciting to watch them play. It's exciting to watch them on the sideline. They're full of excitement and adrenaline, and I just think they're a really confident football team, and it's going to be a hard game for LSU to win. Then 2 weeks later, they go to Auburn, and then a couple weeks later, they go to Florida. Then they have Georgia at home. They get Georgia and Bama both at home, so I think they win one of those. Even though I don't think they're great, I think they will win one of those. Then they still have games at Arkansas, game at Texas A&M. Number 10 strength of schedule in the nation. It's going to be a tough one. So I think conference record 4-4. Overall, they go 8-4. Good enough for a bowl game. Not good enough to save Ed Orgeron's job, in my opinion. I think after this season, he will be gone and looking for another coaching job. Finishing next to last, not that they're going to regress, not that they're a bad team, is Arkansas. They don't have a super difficult schedule, coming in at 42nd in the nation for strength of schedule. They open up with an easy slate with Eastern Illinois at Colorado State and then North Texas at home. That's 3 wins in a row. Start off with some confidence. New coach Chad Morris came from SMU. I think he has some good ideas. He's was able to get SMU up and rolling last couple of years and got some good recruits. So I think he's going to do good things at Arkansas. But it does take time to put new schemes in place. It takes time for these players to learn these coaches' language and systems and how they want them to do things. And I just don't think it's going to happen overnight at Arkansas. So they do start 3-0, but then you have at Auburn, Texas A&M at home, Alabama at home. I think Arkansas loses all 3 of those, starts the season 3-3, and then they get a little bit of a reprieve. They get Ole Miss at home, Tulsa at home, and Vanderbilt at home. So they get 5 games in a row at home. And Ole Miss, Tulsa, and Vanderbilt are all winnable for Arkansas. So that puts them 6-3. They earn a bowl game. They get a bye week. Then a home game against LSU, at Mississippi State, at Missouri. All 3 of those are going to be losses. Conference record ends up 2-6 for an overall record of 6-6. Good enough for a bowl game, but that's about it. Arkansas will be a solid football team. They're just not going to be the best out there. They're in a tough conference. That it's just what they're going to be able to do right now. But I do think Chad Morris is a good coach for them. I think he will get them on the right track. And, next couple of years, Arkansas will probably be finishing a little higher than second to last in the conference. And then finishing last in the SEC West, unfortunately for them, is Ole Miss. They had a scandal a couple years ago. They're still trying to get through that. They had some recruiting violations. They're providing cash payments to players. They've had quite a few players leave the program, go to other teams, namely star quarterback Shea Patterson. Not necessarily the best quarterback out there as far as pro skill set, but he makes plays when it matters, and he's a competitor. And I just think Ole Miss losing him amongst other players as well just isn't going to give them a good season. I do think they start the season 2-0 with games against Texas Tech and Southern Illinois, both at home. I think they win those. Then they host Alabama. That's a loss. Then they host Kent State. That's a win. So they start 4 games at home, start 3-1, and that's the highlight of their season because then they go to LSU. That's a loss. Then 2 weeks later, they go to Arkansas. That's a loss. Then they host Auburn. Loss. Bye week. Then they've got South Carolina at home. I think that's a loss. Then they go to Texas A&M. That's a loss. They do go to Vanderbilt. They can win that. That would be the only game they win in the conference. But I think even Vanderbilt can beat Ole Miss this season. I really do. So that's a loss. And then Mississippi State at home. They can't compete with Mississippi State with the loss of players they've had. So that's a loss. So I have Ole Miss going 0-8 in the conference, 4-8 overall. I could be wrong, but that's what I have it based on what they've lost, based on the way where things are at Ole Miss. It's going to be tough for them to compete in one of the toughest divisions in football. So that's where we're at with the SEC West. So first we've got Alabama, second Auburn, third Mississippi State, fourth Texas A&M, fifth LSU, sixth Arkansas, and seventh Ole Miss. I think Alabama will be one of your best teams in the nation this year. Even with only 3 starters back on D. So that's my breakdown for the SEC West. All right, now on to the NFL. Over the next 30 days or so, before the NFL football season kicks off, I'm going to break down every team in the NFL and their record. I'm going to do this by division. So we're going to start with the AFC East and the losers of the Super Bowl, the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots are a team that has been dominant for years, and I don't think that stops this year. Not completely. Will they get to the Super Bowl this year? I don't think they will. But I don't think they're going to suck either. I do have them winning the AFC East again. They still have Tom Brady. They added a really nice running back in Sony Michel with the 30th overall pick in the 2018 draft. He is questionable for week 1, maybe week 2, but he'll be a solid running back for them. I was surprised to see the Patriots spend a first-round pick on a running back. That was kind of shocking to me. Although Sony Michel, if you're gonna pick a running back in the first round, Michel's probably a really good one to do that with. So it's probably going to be a split scenario still in New England as far as how many carries running backs are going to be getting. But Sony Michel will be a good carrier, a ball carrier there for them, splitting carries with Rex Burkhead. They also drafted tackle/guard Isaiah Wynn in the first round with the 23rd overall pick. He's not going to start right away, but by the 3rd or 4th week, I expect him getting some snaps, and by midseason, he'll probably be a full-time starter based on what I'm hearing as far as Isaiah Wynn goes. But he was a key addition to them for the O-line. As far as departures, they lost Dion Lewis, wide receiver Danny Amendola. He's with the Dolphins now. Nate Soldier, he's gone, long-time tackle for Tom Brady. And then cornerback Malcolm Butler, who got stiffed in the Super Bowl, got benched by Bill Belichick. Well, we don't know why, but he did not get to play in the Super Bowl, and he is no longer with the New England Patriots. In free agency, the Patriots added wide receiver Eric Decker, wide receiver Jordan Matthews, and defensive end Adrian Claiborne. I think those are all solid adds for the Patriots. Eric Decker and Jordan Matthews are great additions for the Patriots. Both of them have great hands. Both of them are great at running routes. They're not the fastest. They're not the best. But for New England's system, where Tom Brady needs reliable pass catchers, not guys that stretch the field long, they just need guys that catch the ball 5-10 yards and can get a little bit of separation. And I think Decker and Matthews both can do that. And they're going to be some fun toys for Tom Brady. They also received in trade Cordell Patterson, another wide receiver. He's going to be their punt returner most likely, and that'll be interesting how they utilize him in the offense. Then they brought in left tackle Trent Brown in a trade from the 49ers. He'll be the starting left tackle replacing Nate Soldier, so there's no downgrade there really. I think Brown's a solid left tackle, so good protection there for Brady. And then they bring in Jason McCourty, Devin McCourty's brother, from the Browns. So now you got a little bit of extra depth at cornerback. And then Danny Shelton, defensive tackle. He's their third DT, but he might move his way up the depth chart. I think he has potential to be a solid player. I don't think the Browns utilized him correctly, and I think Bill Belichick will get more out of Danny Shelton than the Browns did. So with that said, let's take a look at the Patriots schedule. They start the season with Houston. Week 1, at home. I think they lose. Houston gets Deshaun Watson back. Houston gets J.J. Watt back. Jadeveon Clowney. Great pass rush. I don't think Tom Brady does as well as some expect, especially against that pass rush. So I think that's a loss. Then they go to Jacksonville, which is, again, another really good defense. I think the Patriots lose there as well. I just don't think they're built to compete with great defenses. And Jacksonville has a pretty solid defense. They fly around the football. They're young. Lots of pass rushers. I just don't think the Patriots get it done. Patriots start 0-2, and that's the worst stretch of their schedule, in my opinion, as far as how difficult it is. Then they go to Detroit. That's a win. They have Miami, Indianapolis, and Kansas City all at home in a row. I think those all three are wins. Then they go to Chicago. Chicago's getting better, but they're not good enough to beat the Patriots, even at home. So that's a win. So now the Patriots are starting 5-2. Then they go to Buffalo. Buffalo and the Patriots always seem like close games. It's just that interdivision football. Division foes are always tough. I think Buffalo steals one from the Patriots at home. So that's a loss for the Patriots. Then the Patriots host Green Bay. I think with Aaron Rodgers back and healthy, I think Green Bay is much tougher than people anticipate they will be. So that's a loss for the Patriots. Then they go to Tennessee. That's a win. They have their bye week. Then they go to the Jets, a win. They have a loss. They go to the Vikings. I think that's a loss. Then they have two road games in a row. Sorry, that game against the Vikings is at home for the Patriots. But I still think the Vikings, with adding Kirk Cousins, I just don't think the Patriots have what it takes to beat the Vikings. So that's a loss. Then 2 road games in a row, one at Miami, one at Pittsburgh. I think they beat Miami. I think they lose to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's offense, if Le'Veon Bell gets back, which I think he will, is going to be tough. And they have an okay defense, but going to Heinz Field, Big Ben, Antonio Brown, Juju Schuster-Smith, I think Pittsburgh's a little too much for the Patriots, and they pull that one out. Then Buffalo comes to the Patriots, that's a win, and then the Jets, and that's a win. So the division record for the Patriots, 5-1, overall record 10-6, good enough to get a playoff berth to the division round, which is all you can ask for if you're a Patriots fan. So they could do better than that, but I'm putting them on 10-6. Tom Brady is getting a little bit older. His arm, I know he doesn't throw deep as often anymore, but I think attrition may happen as the season progresses. So 10-6 for the New England Patriots in 2018. That is actually all we have time for today on Unsportsmanlike Conduct with the Football Guru 365. However, if you tune into my next show, we're going to be featuring the SEC East, as well as the Miami Dolphins, the New York Jets, and the Buffalo Bills. You can also get more information from me at thefootballguru365.com, and you can also follow me on Twitter at @theguru. I hope you guys have a great day and enjoy the show, and I hope you tune in next time. Thanks so much.